when you go into business, don't go into business thinking about so much getting the money from your community. Just think about the product and putting the most value into it, and then figure out who gets the most value from that and go find them. Let's talk about what the line means to you. Self-sabotage, trauma. Let's define it so that everybody can kind of understand. And I guess I'll go first. To me, the line is you have this system within you that I call it that big brother, big sister that wants to protect you. But what it protects you against is what's unfamiliar. It wants you to remain in familiar. So anything unfamiliar, it wants to sabotage you from approaching that. That could be a conversation, that could be relationships, that could be an opportunity, and it wants you to self-sabotage. And so if you grew up poor, what is familiar to your system is poorness. Decisions, thoughts, everywhere you go, people you hang out with. And so you could be in conversation with someone who is good for you, could be a mentor, someone to help you become successful, but your system, all it hears is unfamiliar. And it screams run in different ways. That could be you being tired. You ever read a book and you notice when you read, they say when a human being reads a word that they don't understand, they yawn. That's the system seeing something unfamiliar and saying no. Okay? So I would love for each of you to try to explain what you believe that line is.
Are we going in?
Yeah, we'll just go down.
Okay. Take us away. All right, for sure. I guess I take it to be we're limited in the amount of information that we receive growing up. Because of that, we are conditioned to a certain limited understanding of the world. We become comfortable in that understanding, and I guess kind of to Seth's point, unknowingly in various ways, we find ways to return back to those limits as opposed to finding ways to move beyond them.
Yeah, I think a line is anything that holds you back. It could be conscious or subconscious. I think it could be dealing with imposter syndrome, not thinking that you should be where you are, or not thinking you deserve something. I think the line is also, again, negative thoughts, and also can be systemic barriers too, like real things that are hard to get over, like getting access to capital in our communities. But I think it's anything that holds us back.
Dang, they're like taking the answers that I was going to say. Give us a fair shot. Right. I'll just speak for me personally. Like the line for me is where I stop trusting God and I don't check myself for what his will is for me, right? And so like I always think I know what's best, and so like a lot of time that works out, you know what I mean? And like I just keep going along, but then when it doesn't, it's like, yo, because I didn't check in with him. So like just that line being whatever your higher power is, or whatever you are trusting in to kind of guide you, when you don't check that thing, it stops you from moving forward and being successful and effective.
I think I concur with everything they said. I don't even know if there's anything left to add, but I think maybe looking at things from the trauma lens, like framework is created from experience. So my experience is what shapes how I show up here today based off of, hey, maybe I've had other public speaking experiences, and they might not have been good. So that affects how I may show up here. So I think experiences cause framework, causes perspective. And based off of that, those things can be limiting or freeing for some people. Some experiences may have been like, wow, I really watched that. That helped me be able to do that. And so I think the line is complex. It could be family, it could be systemic, it could be generational, it could be cultural. I think all of those things do little imprints at age 5, at age 7, at age 20. I hear this statement a lot. I don't know why I do what I do. And then I'm like, well, we got to go back. Where did you learn that? There was messaging you heard, you seen. Some stuff was never said. It was what you seen, and that shaped what caused you to be who you are, the limitations that you operate from. So I think the line didn't start today. The line started a long time ago. It might have started with your grandmother's grandmother and just brought down to you as well But this kind of conference, these kinds of conversations helps us see the line and, hey, the line doesn't have to be where I stop. I can overcome that line.
And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it becomes the greatest gift if you're willing to do the work. And so just back to you, and anybody else can answer the question. I have a list of symptoms. I call them symptoms. Symptoms of when the line is actually showing up. Because if you could begin to look at it from a third person and be like, whoa, it's happening right now, you can start to do the work in practice. What are some cues? I do have a list, but I would love to hear from you. What are some cues for recognizing this moment of self-sabotage showing up?
Well, I think anytime you have reactivity, like we sometimes just think like, oh, I just responded a certain way. Reactivity is information. Like it's not always being emotional. You're not your emotions. But if anxiety shows up in a scenario like now, what's that mean? Where'd that come from? I learned that. Or now I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting angry. Or I'm having self-sabotage. There's information that something here either feels familiar, something feels dangerous, something feels like a threat to me. Like there's information in your reactivity. It doesn't always have to be some long thing. It could be Adrena looked at me in a different way. That made me feel something. I learned that. Or they didn't respond when I said that. Nobody's nodding their head. That's information. What am I feeling? And where did that come from? What am I interpreting? If you're not responding, that means I don't have anything significant to say. Does that mean no one's paying attention to me? Where did I learn that? It might have learned that from my father. They didn't listen to me growing up or something like that. So I think reactivity is information. That is a cue, physical cues, body cues for some, but I'll let some of y'all answer.
That's good.
Okay. All right, so I want to read from the list, and this is on the second page, I believe. So some of the signs that your system may be defending you against any growth or anything unfamiliar. Sudden fatigue or brain fog when it's time to act. You ever talk to somebody, you're like, oh my gosh, they're boring. They might be saying something above your line, okay? Go ahead.
Explain what brain fog is. Tell them what brain fog is.
Brain fog, you explain it. Go ahead.
Well, just off the top, I just think brain fog is where you're stuck. You can't focus. You can't be present in the conversation. Or you may be miles ahead, like sometimes with anxiety. So I think brain fog is just not functionality at all.
Okay. Overthinking, procrastination, doom scrolling on your phone. Physical tension in the chest, jaw, stomach, or before sending an email, pitch, or application. You ever have the anxiety before you go into a job interview? Let's see, perfectionism, endless planning with no follow through or little follow through, comparing yourself to others, shrinking when praised. Irritation or defensiveness when challenged. Wait, how many of you, when you're told about yourself, you can't hear it and you become reactive? Or how many friends or people or family members you tried to give advice to and they become reactive? That's a line moment, okay? Avoiding help or collaboration. I'm feeling reactivity reading that. That's my problem. Downplaying wins or expecting things to fall apart. Imposter syndrome. Believing you are not ready and qualified. Emotional shutdown when money, leadership, or intimacy come into play. So those are some of the things to pay attention to and begin practicing. Carlos, a question as someone who's a coach and as someone who was the president of the Urban League. Two-part question. When you're coaching an individual, what are some of the red flags or things that you see that you tried to get someone around? And in organization, what are some red flags that an organization is operating under a line?
Man, that's a deep question. So for a person, a sense that they're operating on a line is if they're not like seeing themselves, can't look at things objectively. Like people are making a lot of excuses, not taking accountability. I think that's a big line. With organizations, I think sometimes organizations getting stuck, we've never done that before. A lot of resistance to change, like things are dismissed right away without being heard out or vetted, but it keeps an organization more stagnant.
It's almost like in the world right now, we're seeing a line where individuals are unable to hear the other side. I'm watching a lot of good people go to war with other good people because of that line. And that's another, we'll get into that in the next section.